All right, guys, so news broke yesterday that the Republicans in the Senate, led by Mitch McConnell, were going to filibuster the January 6th commission bill, okay? Because it passed in the House and now's in the Senate, and the Democrats attempted to pass it in the Senate. However, the Republicans, led by Mitch McConnell, filibustered it. And when this news came out, the super liberal woke media reacted basically very predictably.
Our democracy is on a razor's edge. And rather than focus on saving our democracy from what these extremists that now form the base of the Republican Party are doing, and what people like Ron Johnson are trying to do to our democracy, they're setting up to potentially steal future elections. People like Joe Manchin are casually talking about preserving the artifacts of the Senate from the Jim Crow era. He seems more fixated on holding on to Jim Crow era rules in the Senate than in saving our democracy.
But the idea that he will still spout this nonsense in the face of an attempt to murder him and everybody with a D in their name is disturbing to me. And I don't see the value, honestly, at this point in Democrats treating him with kid gloves. Personally, if I were Senator Van Hollen or any other senator, I would say, look, if you aren't in favor of this commission, then you want me dead as much as some of these Republicans do. That's how I'd be talking about it at this point.
Joe Manchin, if you can't get bipartisanship on protecting our democracy, you're not getting it for anything. And you should use this as the reason, and it will make sense to everybody why we must get rid of the filibuster.
There is a sense that Manchin is also out of control and thinks he's the majority leader. Manchin is exercising control as if he's in charge of the Senate.
If Joe Biden can go out and say, hey, look, there are a lot of Republicans out there running on this Recovery Act that they voted against, I don't know why Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren and all of the leadership aren't running around the country and saying the Republican Party wants you to die. They didn't want you to get money for COVID, and they want your whole government to be decapitated. That should be the answer out of Chuck Schumer's mouth every single minute of every single day.
This is a party of sedition, violence, white nationalism, and what we're hearing from even the president is, we're going to work with them. Really? Because they literally were going to allow the government to be decapitated even if they themselves were going to be killed and Mike Pence to be hung. That's what y'all should be talking about. I don't get it. Jason and Susan.
They don't want to work with him.
I'm going to tell you, man, these Democrats, their ability to over-exaggerate things, it really kills me. It really does. Okay? Because they will just play off people's heartstrings and emotions to make any argument. They don't really want to make any arguments based off any facts or anything like that. And with Joy Reid out here talking crazy like this, maybe Hannity should not have saved her job. Look at this crazy talk right here, man. I mean, tell me this is not playing off fear. How is this not trying to fearmonger? They always want to talk about Fox News. Oh, Fox News is selling fear. Fox News is selling fear. How is this not selling fear? Maybe Hannity should have let Joy Reid lose her job, because this type of rhetoric is reckless. It is reckless. So let's talk a little bit more, because the bill did actually get filibustered. So I'm going to read a little bit more here about what happened. Most Republicans, including GOP leader Mitch McConnell, blocked the House-passed legislation on Friday. Just 7 Republicans, one of whom was absent and missed the vote, supported advancing the House-passed bill. Only 35 House Republicans backed it. The majority of the GOP want to move on. They think any focus on January 6th, attack by a mob of Trump supporters, hurts the party ahead of elections when the House and Senate majorities will be at play. All right. So as you can see there, Republicans basically said, no, we're not dealing with this anymore. We're moving on. Okay. And the liberal media is not just using this opportunity to attack the Republicans on the same thing they've been attacking Republicans on since basically it happened. They're also using this to go after Joe Manchin and to go after filibuster. And I'm going to talk about Joe Manchin a little bit here later, but I do want to talk about this January 6th commission bill. Because, you know, listen, I'm not necessarily against an investigation into what happened that day. You guys all know how I feel about what happened that day. Obviously, I don't condone it. I don't condone the violence. But if we're investigating political violence here, why don't we investigate political violence coming from all sides? Okay? That's really what should be happening here. Because, you know, for as much as Joy Reid wants to get super emotional about what happened on January 6th, I don't see this same type of motion when it comes to the protests and riots that happened all last year. So if we're going to investigate that, I'm not even in disagreement with it. If we're going to investigate it, that's fine. But we got to investigate all political violence. That means we got to investigate Antifa. We got to investigate the violent protests that came from those that backed BLM. We got to investigate all that stuff. And if the Democrats don't want to investigate it, then they don't really want a January 6th commission. And this is the type of framing that Republicans have to start using. Because, you know, I like the fact that Mitch McConnell blocked this. But if I was him, what I would have did is I would have said, listen, okay, you can have your January 6th commission. And the reason why is because, you know, even though I think they're right to block it because it does help in the midterms not to continue to dwell on the past. The problem is that what they really should have did was they should have said, listen, we'll have a commission, but only if you will investigate Antifa and all the riots and protests that happened last year, some of whom are still going on. Look at what's going on in Portland right now. I mean, for as much as people want to talk about the attempted insurrection at the Capitol, there are groups that have actually taken over neighborhoods in cities. They've successfully done that. And nobody's calling for investigations into that. But everybody wants to investigate an attempted insurrection, okay? That's what they want to investigate. Something that failed. They don't want to investigate the successful things, right? So if I was Mitch McConnell, I would say, listen, you can hire a January 6th commission. I'm all for it. But we got to investigate everything. That way, if the Democrats say no, then you can say, well, you're the ones that's holding it up. Because at this point, just doing it as a January 6th commission, that's 100% partisan. That's 100% an attack on the Republicans. And again, guys, I'm for investigating all violence. All political violence should be investigated. And I will go out there and I will say, if we're for investigating this violence, why are you not for investigating the violence? Why do you fail to investigate the violence on your own side? Because I'm going to tell you guys, BLM is not that popular anymore. They're not that popular. So I think it is politically feasible to go out there and say we need to investigate all the violence and protests that happen in the street. Most people don't agree with that stuff. So, you know, I don't necessarily think it was a terrible move from McConnell, but I think that he could have played this better because he could have turned this back around on the media and put the card in Democrats' hands and say, listen, we want the January 6th commission. We just want to investigate all of it. While we're doing it, since you guys love all-encompassing bills, right? The Democrats love all-encompassing bills. Let's have one. Let's just investigate everything. And that's what I would have said. That's what I would have done. Now, when it comes to Joe Manchin, they're trying to use this as an excuse to pressure the man into get rid of the filibuster. Okay, so now the liberal media, they're going to go after Joe Manchin. They're going to attack his character. They're really going to hammer this dude because they're going to say, well, see, this is the reason why you shouldn't have a filibuster because the Republicans wouldn't even agree to this January 6th commission. And you're standing in the way of getting rid of it. That's literally the way they're about to do to this man. So, you know, I don't know if Joe Manchin's going to cave on it or not. But one thing I do know, guys, and I'm telling you, man, the way the liberal media is behind getting rid of the filibuster, the way everybody is framing this, the Republicans got to win in 2022. If the Republicans don't win in 2022, there's no doubt in my mind they're going to get rid of that filibuster because the media pressure is there to do it. And if they win more seats, they're going to get rid of it. And if they get rid of it, it's over. D.C. is a state. Okay, you got that new Voting Rights Act. You got all kinds of things that's going to happen if they actually get rid of filibuster. And I hope Joe Manchin don't fall. He shouldn't feel guilty about this. Because the Democrats have filibustered police reform. They filibustered other Republican priorities that would have been good for the country. And nobody called them racist for doing it. Now all of a sudden the filibuster is Jim Crow. Now all of a sudden the filibuster is racist because the Republicans are doing the same thing that the Democrats did. Nobody called the filibuster racist when it was used to filibuster Tim Scott's police reform bill. Now you got clowns on TV like Joy Reid wanting to come out here and talk about how everything is racist and how the Republicans are so bad and exaggerate about attack on our democracy and all this other stuff. And I'm like, miss me with that. If you were so concerned about violence and you were so concerned about the filibuster, you should have been concerned about it last year when it was being done by the Democrats. So don't come to me now 1 year later after you were silent the whole year when it came to those two topics and try to guilt trip people into this. Because it's fake. It's 100% fake. So anyways, man, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.